Hi everyone. I wanted to do a quick video on my newest book. Um, if you follow my art at all, you know that, like I've said many times, I like to incorporate things that kind of filter through our everyday life, such as, going out in nature and finding whether it's feathers or sticks or, little remnants of things. Could be leaves. Sometimes you stumble across like a piece of paper that, was discarded that has that special image or word on it that just really, captured you in that moment. Other times it's like in the case of this, it's incorporating recycled pieces of cardboard and paper and that we might get in, things that we've ordered or shipments and things like that. So in this book, I've incorporated a lot of my images that I have obtained and took while traveling overseas. When I was putting this book together, one, it felt like it took forever. And I think part of that being is because my all my pieces of art are based on my personal journey and things I've experienced or am working through, or capturing a moment that just really, it left me breathless, or it just really imprinted on my heart in such an awesome way that, that I just really wanted to, incorporate. But it took me walking through some of the things these past few weeks, to be able to actually be able to incorporate it into it. So let's jump into it, and hopefully this will make sense of what I'm talking about. This was an angel that I took while I was over in Europe, and I've incorporated layers of recycled paper and paint and inks and the image itself, and working a little bit with transfers. And, I just really build my layers up until it achieves the look that I'm after. Okay. So, isn't she a beauty? So let me see if I can show you guys a little bit. You know that I like layers. You know that I like things that go past the edges and torn and stitching. And as you can see from this, I've incorporated vintage, bags and stitching, and a piece of a wood that came, a stick from out in nature when I took a walk, things like that. Okay, so after building all these luscious layers and tidbits, I then open it up and I'm just checking to make sure I'm in the viewfinder. A lot of different image transfers and layers went into this. Um, Again, images that I obtained while I was over in Europe. So as I traveled, whether it's from buildings or gates, or this was a course on a building in Paris that I snapped and everything. So, of course, I'm using a piece of cardboard that I recycled. Okay. So it's all about the layers that create the looks that I like to achieve. She believed she could, so she did. Now, over here, this is again just layers after layers of working with inks and paints and charcoal and words and different things like that. An image that I drew, and a technique that I learned years ago. It's actually like a flimsy piece of plastic that I transferred it onto. That's pretty cool. And this piece that I did is very flexible, so that's what makes it really nice. And I drew this image a number of years ago, and I've just really liked how, I did up a number of them, and yeah, so there's that one. And then I'm using, of course, heavy watercolor paper, so it can hold up to all the different layers and mediums that I put on it. But again, it does tend to buckle, but this fits the look that I'm after, so I'm happy with that. And then different images. This one, was out west when I took it. These two came from Europe, and I just, I found this on a wall one time when I was going up into a building. To me, it felt like a castle, but I know it wasn't. I'm trying to think of the word of the building, but it was all just stone and everything. But someone had wrote on there, "All we have is now." And that really hit me. And so I took a picture of that. This was on a different building that someone had wrote. And so I just incorporate it. When I create my books, I try to leave open space, whether if it's for me or if I'm going to be selling it. It allows the person or myself to come in, and now I can do journaling, I could do sketching, I can write around here, I can go right over the words. You know, it's leaving enough that the page could be finished in itself, but also allows me or the other person to come in and add their memory or their thoughts or something like that. Okay, so moving on. So actually, this was a painting that I did of a path, and then I printed it out, and then I extended it with coming in and adding a few details again, and then also doing this side of it. Oops, sorry, with all my paints and everything. And if you'll only see that the world's an endless, endless song, okay? And it's through the dark, cloud shining, when the mist has cleared, and when the sun comes shining through, the dove of peace sings in my heart, hope and love. Yeah, I love that. And so over here, this was a building over in Paris that I took, and then one of my butterflies. And then, of course, I talk about the beauty of friendship. And then I did a little bit of paints over here and then wrote over it, we are each of us angels with only one wing, and we can only fly by embracing each other. Then here it's changes to give up what we are to become what we could be. And then again, lots of paints and everything, and some different photographs that I printed out and put on here. This is actually from a building, this back one, from a building in a cemetery that I took over in Paris, you know, and it just really, that rust and everything captured me. So I wanted to include that. So over here, I did more of just painting and distress looks and everything like that. And then faith, hope, and love makes all things possible. And what I tend to like to do a lot of times when I create my books is have one page kind of carry over to the other. And a lot of times how that can flow a little bit more naturally is by taking a little bit of this color and incorporating it somewhere over here, whether it's through pencils or paints or something like that. So it just kind of, the eye will travel because it sees the similarities and it connects with it. So in this case, it's a butterfly, and then I distressed the whole background and everything with paints and everything. And then I said, I hope life gives you wings and you have the courage to use them. Okay, so a bird, an image of a bird that I did an image transfer on, and then the background. And then on this one, I didn't want the words to come across really just very stark. So that's why you see where it's like a hit and miss on this. And it kind of leads you over to here. And I did all this paint. So this is actually, this background is, I did all my paints and inks and transfers using the jelly plate, and then I glued that paper onto my watercolor paper. So that's where you're getting all of this. This isn't a scrapbook, you know, paper behind here. This is all stuff that I actually created. But because I glued it down, the paper that I did the jelly print on, it was very thin. So I needed to strengthen it and give it stability and everything. And by gluing it onto my watercolor paper, that achieved it. And then, of course, these two images came from over in Europe. And then this was really cool. When I did my transfer, I'm sorry, when I did my print, I put it in Photoshop on this one, and then I actually changed the initials here. Isn't that pretty cool? So, yeah. Everything happens for a reason. It's a matter of moving your point of view around until you see it. And then this is a piece of heavy watercolor paper that I did all my painting, but this image came from over in Europe. But this is, I really liked it. And so the reason why I glued it this way was to allow, or attached it, was to allow this to flip. And then you had writing that you could do over here, and this is the way. And yeah, so I thought that was really cool. That's sweet. Okay, this is one of my favorite pages. What I like about it too is, like I told you, I like things to come past it. So if you come down here, you see how there's tidbits of this word for these words over here. It's just another element to build up your page. You don't have to do that every time, but it depends on what it's speaking to me in that moment. And since each page was created by something that I walked through, whether it was a happy moment, whether it was a meaningful moment, a sad moment, whatever it was, each page is created based on that. So much of myself goes into my art. It's like revealing my rawness and it gets put down. So depending on what I'm going through, so the message is simple. And I created all these background things, birds, I mean, everything. And this is just happens to be one of my favorite ones. And so I carried it this way. And it talks about grace is the face that love wears when it meets imperfection. And this was a image of a window and a door over in Italy that I took. How sweet is that? Okay. So in the midst of winter, I finally learned that there was in me an invincible summer. And this paper actually came from, I bought like a stack of papers that an artist had sold to me, and she did a lot of different types of transfers and everything and dyeing on them. So I really like that. And then I still allowed you to open it. So then of course I created a background with inks and everything. Over here, my tree that I really like to use, I use many different ones, but this happens to be one of my favorite ones that I just like to go out in fall and winter. And just when the trees are bare, and even in early spring too, depending on where I'm traveling and everything, I just love taking pictures of trees. Yeah, and so here's this one. I have always known that at last I would take this road, but yesterday I did not know that it would be today. And so I incorporate it, and then I come in with inks and paints and chalks and different things, whatever it needs to help merge everything together to create what I'm trying to express in that moment or to reveal and release from me. And then I use tissue papers, and this is at the Sound of Voice. So when you turn it, this was a yummy page too. I liked where I revealed that whatever goes on in this page will be revealed here too. This one has a lot. It speaks a lot to me because I've had a lot of things I've had to overcome from the time I was a little girl. So it talks, that's that inner child in me. She was unstoppable, not because she did not have failures or doubts, but because she continued on despite them. A moment's insight is sometimes worth a life's experience. This image came from when I was over in Paris, and she just really spoke to me because she's a warrior. Okay. I'm a sensitive soul with a warrior spirit. Again, this came over there when I was in Europe. And this actually was when I was traveling within the US, and it was on a foggy morning, and we came over this bridge, and I just thought that was so cool. So I snapped that, the light within. She who kneels before God can stand before anyone. I really like that. That just speaks to me. Still like air, I rise. So this is a lot about my inner child, about how I chose to see the good. I chose to see the light within and keep moving on despite what was coming against me. And that is how I achieved many things. Now on this page, I've left this like here. I haven't attached this totally, but the thing about it is the reason why I wanted to show you guys this page was because every time I look at it, it still speaks to me. And so before I lock myself in to glue this down, and then I'm going to throw a little bit of some stars back here. The stars exist that we might know how high our dreams can soar. But I wanted to show you guys something. The reason why this is important to me is because sometimes when you're almost like 99% sure you want to lock it in, I just really want to make sure I've created a really hazy kind of path, stream, something like this. So I actually did an image transfer with some trees back here. What I do every time I come to this page is I look at it and see, maybe I would like to just leave that like that. But then I've put this here And every time I look at this really speaks to me. So before I lock it in, and like I said, I'm almost ready to. I just want to make sure that that's, it's not a problem. I've sometimes glued things down or attached them and then realized, it didn't work for me. That's how you learn through trial and error. And then I would just go and start working with paints again and start building my page back up. What I'm struggling with this one is I like both of them. I really, really like both of them, because the reason I like it like this is because I could come in with a white gel pen and do some writing right here, or I could just leave it like it is, okay? And every time I look at it, it takes me to a place that, a memory that I've had, or a place I visited, or, maybe it creates calmness and peace in me. But then when I see this, I love the stars, so of course, this every time I see this one speaks to me, and the way the path is. So I'm going to figure out which one I want, but that's the reason why I'm indecisive. And I wanted to show that to you because sometimes we're not sure, and either one will work, but maybe I need to experience something else. And once I go through that, wow, that's what I want there. Okay, because every page is revealing a part of my rawness within this book. It's whether it's a memory, it's an event, whatever. Um, and so, with that being the case, neither one is wrong or right. Well, they're both right, regardless of which way I go. But I'm waiting for it to say the aha moment is, yep, that's what's supposed to be there. Because honestly, I love that just like it is. And I think just writing a couple words would be great, because it's just a feint. I did an image transfer. It's just a feint of trees. But I don't want to build on the trees. I just want that impression there enough that it can take me to that memory, or it could take me to that memory. And because I love the stars, I have many memories of stars, okay, sitting underneath them, and, just, yeah, peace and calmness and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not sure. On this one, this is a sunset that I took, and the sun came like gold through the trees and over the fields, and I felt like I was in heaven. Um, I love the sunrises and the sunsets. So of course, that's one of the things. So I built this on, and I used vintage papers to be able to be unable to forget even in one's dreams. And I just worked with some paints on that. So over here, you can see this is that little part, but over here, here's this. So this was an angel I took over in Europe, and friends are angels who lift us to our feet when our spirit has trouble remembering how to fly. And then I just built on from that part. I could have really extended this further out, but I didn't want that. I wanted the white to be what pushes her to the forefront, okay? I didn't want to lose her so much, because if I would have extended all this out with the dark color, I think I would have lost the definition of what's going on down here, and I didn't want to do that. But anyways, to hear the angels whisper, you must listen with your heart. Okay, some old paper. I know if you've seen my art before, or followed me, you know that I talk about when I was over in Paris, and there's this humongous area that I went to, or this humongous statue in this area that I went to, and she really, really tall. So at the tall, there's this angel, this humongous angel statue, and she's got two little cherubs sitting at her feet. Well, she's so far up, like I've said many times, that so when I snapped my picture, little did I realize that in that moment, two birds landed exactly where you see them in the picture. So when I go back to look at my photos, talk about a blessing from God. Oh my gosh, these birds were exactly there. So I've used this many, many times in my art, because this is just one that really hit me very profoundly. And we are not human beings on a spiritual journey. We are spiritual beings on a human journey. And this was where you saw this somewhere like in the beginning, where I take it. Well, again, I took that same photo and reduced the size, and then built my paint and everything on that one. But on this one, I actually just attached it to the page. I didn't want this one to flip. So when we come over here, here's the back of that. And again, some more things from over in Europe, and sometimes on the way to our dreams, we get lost and find a better one. Okay, so I've left all of this open to write on. When I was traveling in the U.S., and I'll have to go back and look at my notes, but I think this was down in Tennessee, and on one of the walls when we were traveling around, walking the town city, you go down this alley, and there's these wings that someone had drew and painted. Oh my gosh, it was perfect. So I've got many of them with my husband and I standing there, but this is one that I did. I just love it. It's got, I believe it was in Nashville, but anyways, you got the guitars, and so it was a music city or something, but not all who wander are lost. Okay. So you come over here, and when I was over in Italy, this is the door you probably have seen from time to time in my art, is traveling a lot of the back roads. We came across a lot of different stone buildings and everything. So I captured this one, and actually what this is actually an image transfer. So this wasn't the color of the building, of course, but I did an image transfer on it, on this piece of paper, watercolor paper, and then incorporated it. I opened the doors of my heart, and behold, there was music within and a song. Okay. So life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. And then it brings over to this angel that I took over in Paris in the cemetery. I love. And then it's all my little words, faith within my heart. Okay. And then it's just tidbits of old vintage papers. Life is art. Paint your dreams, sing your songs, enjoy the dance. And then this was actually a pipe that someone had painted over in Paris. And so I took a picture of it and then printed it and, of course, put it on here. But I covered some of the words up because in pursuit a summer day. Okay, so it's just about what speaks to you and how you want to incorporate it. But this is my journey. Love is a memory that touches the heart. And cherish yesterday, dream tomorrow, live today. One of my flowers from my garden that I took, and then I printed it on plastic. Okay, how sweet is that? Another sunset that I took. Love is our foundation, but those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. And then another angel that came from my time in the cemetery over in Paris. One touch of nature makes the whole world kin, not king, kin. And then, and talk about, and that's the actual color of her. I mean, that was just gorgeous patina on that one. And then I just built up all my background, here. And just so you know, like for this photo, I didn't do anything in Photoshop for this. Was exactly the way the photo came out, and I loved it. Is my faith, the cross. It really spoke to me. So here's one over this gorgeous road that was in Paris, and the colors, everything. It's exactly how you see it. It was just gorgeous. I've not enhanced it or anything. But anyways, love your life. It is just about what speaks to me. Some people may say, I don't understand the contrast that you got going on here. That's okay. Okay. Because when I create art, it's not about you. It's about me and what speaks to me. So, there's art that I look at that not everything speaks to me. And that doesn't make it wrong in the way they created it. When you're true to yourself, and it speaks from your rawness, there will be people who connect with it. There'll be people who say, yeah, it's okay. It's okay because I'm not creating it for anybody but myself. If it touches someone, I'm honored. Okay, so again, this was over in Paris, and both of these, and I just printed them out. And one cannot change yesterday, but only make the most of today and look forward with hope towards tomorrow and peace. And I just built up all this packaging, vintage papers, things like that. And you can see how this goes past it. So this was over in I want to say it was over in Italy. Okay. I think I pretty much know which church it was, but I'm not going to, say it and get it wrong. But anyways, old book binding that was here. Seek those who contemplate the beauty of the earth, find reserves of strength that will endure as long as life lasts. And then again, different aspects of the cemetery, different pieces that came from my journal. And then photos I took while traveling up north fall time. So you get a lot of the fall colors, you know, the browns and the yellows, and I mean, just gorgeous colors. Okay. And then I distressed a lot of this with different inks and everything. There's always flowers for those who want to see them. Okay. So for here, this is actually an image that I took from Europe. And then I just built my page on it with paints, inks, all that kind of stuff. For a long time, she only flew when no one else was watching. Um, then we're over here with the birds. And a friend is someone who knows the song in your heart and sings it to you when you forget the words. Okay. And then, of course, I did all my background, the colors and things like that. And we come to here, angels hands, and then out of silence, music, out of darkness, light, out of uncertainty, promise, hope was born that night. And then I leave my stitching revealed here. It allows writing can be here or here, or I could put buttons, you know, different things like that. I even could write here, and then that's going to reveal what's here. And then I, of course, took another piece of cardboard that I distressed and painted and built vintage papers on it, inks, all that kind of stuff. And then when you get to the back, same thing. Okay, so this was my book, and you can see where if whatever I put here is going to be revealed to the back too. I thought about putting some words and everything, but I'm not. I just think right now this is where it needs to stay. I'm happy. I just got to decide on that one page about the stars. But anyways, I just want to thank everybody who came along for a few minutes to check out my newest book. And until we meet each other down the road again, have a great one, you guys. Bye.